Hey, good morning YouTube. I'm the Tech Prepper. Now this was a video that I have been debating about for the last 10 days whether I wanted to do, and I'm starting to see that people are not taking everything that's going on very seriously. And what concerns me is that I was a crazy prepper for the last 4 years, and I saw things like what happened at Katrina, and I saw a localized event that took 6 weeks for support to be sent to that area. And I told my wife, I said, well, what happens? And I didn't know what that thing was if this happens across the country. There's no way the infrastructure can support that system, and we're seeing that now. And if you guys are watching the news, you notice the timeline of how long we're gonna have to ride this thing out continues to extend. And I know that this is going to take anywhere from 12 to 18 months, but first I heard on the news, all the outlets actually, it's just until the 31st of this month. And then the narrative changes and it's the 19th of April. And trust me, that needle is going to move again and again and again. And I think people need to realize that they still have an opportunity to prep right now. And I'm not talking about prep of acquiring things. Continue to do that. Continue to build out your food supply without hoarding so that everybody has their fair share. And at least try to have a supply for the next 90 days. And I don't want to panic anybody. I'm just trying to be a realist here. And once you have the things, and things are only as important as having the necessary skills to utilize them. And I keep on hearing from people that, oh, I'm bored, we're getting stir crazy. You know what? There is an opportunity right now, if you're not working, even if you're working, to spend your free time not watching television. Invest in your skills. And I have a few recommendations, and these are probably not going to be well received, but I want to put this video out there just so that I feel more comfortable having said it. And I'm going to start with the big ones first. So I think maybe a year ago, I saw some videos on the importance of being able to take care of yourself if there is a medical emergency where there is nobody to help you. And one of the things that the community has been doing for a while is stockpiling fish antibiotics. And again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not dispensing medical advice, but I want to say this is what I'm personally doing because I see the writing on the wall. So the antibiotics that come out of, that are in the veterinary scene for the most part, some of these are actually available in like over the counter at feed stores like Tractor Supply, Walmart, I think it's called Pet RX, has a variety of antibiotics. And what's fascinating about this, that oftentimes if you purchase the correct antibiotic from certain companies, they appear to be exactly the same as those that are marketed towards humans. They have the same active ingredient. They have the same quantity. In this case, this is fish mox. Amoxicillin is the primary ingredient here. 250 milligrams, right? And there's also the Forte, which is 500 milligrams. These are the exact same dosages. And if I were to open up this bottle and compare them to pills coming out of this lab, they would be identical. So I have about 4 different types of antibiotics that are designed to treat different types of bacterial infections. Again, this will not help for what's going on right now, but let's say that there's another condition we need to treat and we can't go to the hospital. I want to be prepared at least to have the things, in this case the medicine, first. And now I need to supplement that with skills and knowledge, and that's where I want to start prepping my time and spending my time outside of my job. So before work, after work, I am basically building out my skill set. And this book is amazing. It's called the Survival Medical or Medicine Handbook. And it covers just about everything from treating wounds to CPR to delivering babies to even understanding antibiotics. And there's a whole section here on how to recognize the symptoms and what the various antibiotics can treat. Basically how to define the dosage, whether you're an infant, a child, or an adult. And again, this could be very dangerous if you do it incorrectly. So I'm only advocating this for myself at the moment. You guys take this information however you like. And along with this, I've also ordered a PDR, a physician's desk reference for antibiotics. I found one on eBay from 2003 or 2005, and it basically walks you through pill identification, dosing, dosages, how long to take them. You know, is it 3 times a day, 8 hours per day? Is it 6 hours, every 6 hours, etc. And the other thing I'm doing, notice this is a physical book. I know people, you know, born after I finished college have never seen one of these, but sorry guys. It's just everybody's always looking to their phones and their iPads and their computers. If there is no power, you're only gonna get so much juice. And if you don't have a solar power plant like we prepared for, you're out of luck. So a book is absolutely, in print, is critical in my mind. And start reading this now. Don't wait, you know, when you actually need it. Then it's too late. The other thing I've done with this book is like I said, I have 3 antibiotics right now and a 4th one on the way. I've read this thing, the chapters on those end to end multiple times. And then I've also created these little cards for myself. And these are designed to go in my go bag. So for amoxicillin here, I have the dosage, the allergies and the diseases it treats, and then my dosing instructions for myself and my wife. Some are more complicated than others. Some antibiotics, actually depending on the type of treatment, has different dosing requirements. So again, you have to be very careful to understand what you're treating. I mean, as a great example, one of the antibiotics that I have here, I'm going to butcher the name. But basically it's the fish Zole, Z-O-L-E. And this one is one of those antibiotics that the dosing instructions are a little bit more complicated. But for example, there are some things that I know that my uncle, myself as backpackers have had in the past. It actually treats protozoal infections, and these are single-celled organisms that kind of mimic the behavior of animals. And what's cool about these things is that it covers Giardia, and I've had Giardia. This is a waterborne illness that you typically get if you drink bad water, for example, on a backpack. So the way I'm looking at these, I've gone through and looked at all of the different diseases that it covers, and I'm like, what have I had personally in the past? Because I know what those symptoms were, I knew what the doctor prescribed to me, and I'm starting with those. I'm actually checking those off. It's like, yeah, I've had these in the past. I've had mid-ear infections pretty much most of my adult life, I would say, because I do run with headphones and the earbuds, and they get water in the ear and it doesn't drain properly. So at least I know how to treat the things that I know that require antibiotics that I've had in the past. So please, please, please start using some of your time to invest in skills. And I'm prioritizing how I invest my time with the medical preparedness first. The other area that's on my list, and I've been doing this for maybe a year and a half now, is ham radio. I want to have communications if for some reason the cell phone infrastructure goes down. So I am a technician, SEC licensed amateur radio operator, and I work primarily on VHF, UHF with these handhelds. But while I was studying for that exam, I basically was using one of the study aids. But this is great. Again, it's a book. It has all the information I need, frequencies, FCC policies, although those kind of go out the window if there is a life or death scenario. But the fact is, I know all the material in this book pretty much front to back, and I don't have to go to it if there's an emergency. I know how to work my radio. It's programmed already. If I feel like I'm getting rusty on something, I go back and reread the section or two. And what I'm working on right now is my general FCC license. This is the license just above technician, and this pretty much opens up HF or high frequency to me. So the band's just below VHF. And this one actually opens me up to worldwide communication and pretty much communication across the United States with very little power. You know, and again, the main point there is, one, I needed the equipment, which I have, but I need the skills now. So communications, medical covered. The other thing that's starting to concern me is our ability to get fresh produce. So my wife and I have actually started to plant a garden, and I wish I had done this months and years ago. So I'm now having to learn how to plant my own food. I do have a video that is in the works. I'm waiting for the plants to grow a little bit more, or the vegetables to grow a bit more. But I'm starting to grow bunching onions, also called green onions or scallions. Then I'm going to start experimenting with radishes, carrots, and a few other things. So I'm looking at trying to understand a bit more about gardening so that I can actually start to build out some sustainable garden for myself and my wife. And again, this is not a lot. This is not going to be our primary food supply. But again, investing in the things, so having the seeds, having the soil, and two, having the skills. So I don't know, guys, I really was on the fence about making this video. I can go on in some of the other areas that I'm working on. In fact, let's close with a nice light-hearted one. I'm gonna go off camera for a second. So this is one of my other projects. This is a 10-meter dipole antenna for HF that I have been building and refining for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And one of the things that I need to do with to deploy this antenna in what they call a inverted V is I need to tie off the ends with an insulator on one side. So I take one end of the antenna, loop it through here, wrap it up. The other end of the midpoint of the antenna is going to hang from basically a point in my balcony. But I was not remembering my Boy Scout knots very well. So I went on YouTube and I downloaded, I downloaded on my YouTube account a handful of knots that I didn't, that I was a bit rusty on. So one was the bowline, and then I was looking for a knot that will allow me to adjust the length here. So for example, on this guy, let's see if I can even do it. This is called a taut line hitch. So the problem that I was trying to solve was, in my balcony, I have a certain length of antenna wire, and I have to tie that off on one end on this insulator, the other end on the other side. But then I need to tie this to the balcony itself. And this length is fairly long. And what I want to be able to do is have an adjustable length or knot. So I think it's called a taut line hitch. And it does exactly that. And again, this is a simple thing that I'm doing, but I don't want to have to figure out, if I have to quickly deploy my antenna, how to deal with my knots. So the way this guy works, and I'll probably screw this one up on video, is it'll go behind the thing I'm trying to tie it around. And I want to have kind of a longish working end here. And I apologize, there are better YouTube videos for this, but I just want to demonstrate something that I'm, have the thing, the rope, and then the skill, being able to identify what knot I want to tie, being able to tie it. I'm going to go around, then once more, bring this guy here. Pull it through. Okay. All right, so I don't know how well that is coming on camera, but basically I have my railing outside, so I will have tied this around it. And if I need to adjust the length of this, I can. So now I've shortened my rope, and I can just as easily move it, and it stays in place. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how I'm spending my time outside of my 8 or 9 hour workday, outside of some extracurricular software and programming things I'm doing. I'm pretty much going around the clock and still getting 8 hours sleep just by trying to go through my skills acquisition phase. And then to keep things light and help also mentally, my wife and I are studying Stoicism right now. We're starting with the readings of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. And again, we're just trying to figure out how to use our time. And I will tell you one thing. With everything that I'm doing here, we are not bored. I know the situation is unfortunate and people are dying, but we have shifted what we're doing from spending lots of time watching TV maybe to her and I together watching like one program a night or maybe two. And we're doubling down on skills acquisition. So guys, I did not want to make this video, but I'm pleading with everybody in the way that I had pleaded before to at least stockpile provisions for 3 weeks for an earthquake or whatever, to please, please, please be strong, be safe, and invest in your skills. I'm the Tech Prepper. Oh, and feel free to comment in the video below. I'm happy to answer any questions. Let's get a dialogue going. And yeah, let's build out a small community here. Sorry of a bit of a rant, guys, but this was one of those videos that I just did in one take, unscripted. It was just one of those things where I couldn't sleep last night thinking about this. So be strong, be safe, and invest in your skills.